In 1985, in the heart of the Colombian jungle, a plane flies over a territory loaded with cocaine, weapons, and money. On board, Barry Seal, an American pilot who just a few years earlier flew for commercial airlines, transporting passengers from one city to another, but now he is in command of a plane of the CIA, transporting cocaine for the Medellin Cartel and Pablo Escobar. How is it possible that a man like him, a simple pilot, has fallen into such a dark world? What decisions or circumstances turned him into a key prize in an international game where crime and politics intertwine? Barry Seal was born in 1939 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Initially, he worked as a pilot for commercial airlines, but soon he realized that the life of an employee was not what he was looking for. His adventurous spirit led him to enter in contact with the world of smuggling, but it was a meeting with the CIA that would change everything. In 1970, he was discovered by the American intelligence while transporting immigrants illegally. Instead of arresting him, the CIA made him a proposal: work as a pilot for secret missions in exchange for immunity. Barry accepted. During the 70s, the CIA was involved in numerous secret operations during the Cold War. Barry was recruited for a very special mission: transport weapons and resources to the Contras, a Nicaraguan paramilitary group, against the socialist government of Nicaragua, supported by the Soviets. The CIA, in secret, supported the Contras in their fight, and Barry became the pilot who connected the United States with the Nicaraguan jungle, bringing vital resources to a country marked by conflict. He became one of the CIA's most reliable pilots, but also a man who little by little was immersing himself in an increasingly dark world. In 1975, Barry arrived in Colombia, a country that was becoming the epicenter of international cocaine trafficking. His position led him to make contact with a network of drug traffickers that was growing at a dizzying pace. The Medellin Cartel was beginning to gain power and influence, and one of the most feared names was that of Pablo Escobar. Cocaine became the new currency, and demand in the United States grew disproportionately. Barry, with his flight experience and ability to evade radars, became the ideal figure to transport these shipments. Initially, Barry was involved in operations that had to do with arms trafficking, but he soon realized that the money he could make from drug trafficking was infinitely greater. In the 70s, an airline pilot earned $30,000 a year, $2,500 a month. Barry Seal, who worked as a drug trafficker for the Colombian cartel, earned $2,000 for every kilogram of cocaine that he managed to transport to the United States. The plane used by Seal could transport 500 kilograms of cocaine in the trip, which guaranteed him a total profit of $1 million for each run. This amount was about 33 times greater than his annual salary as an airline pilot. Essentially, a single cocaine trafficking flight allowed him to earn more than he would have earned in 33 years of work. Quickly, Barry met the right people: the Colombian cartels. His skill as a pilot allowed him to evade the control of U.S. authorities and fly under the radar, transporting tons of cocaine. The Medellin Cartel, headed by Pablo Escobar, trusted Barry for his ability to navigate difficult areas and risky territories. Thus, in 1976, Barry began transporting cocaine for Escobar, an agreement that would mark his definitive fall in the world of international crime. Cocaine trafficking was rapidly expanding, and the collaboration between Barry and the cartel of Medellin grew at a dizzying pace. Escobar and other cartel members saw in Barry a unique opportunity: not just a pilot, but a resource to expand their operations. Barry departed from the United States with weapons destined for the Contras. He flew to Medellin, where he delivered the weapons to the cartel. At that moment, he loaded the plane with cocaine, pure, and took off back to the United States, flying at low altitude to avoid radars and escape the DEA. But how could he land in America with tons of cocaine on board? The packages were tied to life jackets, so that even if the merchandise fell into the water, it could be recovered. They were thrown from the plane in mid-flight over remote areas, where ground teams recovered them quickly. The drops were planned at points, with little surveillance and previously prepared recovery routes. After the drop, the plane could continue its flight or land without leaving evident traces of the cargo just delivered, which made it more difficult to directly link the plane to drug trafficking. The routes that Berry used became essential for transporting drugs to the United States. He began making regular flights, transporting tons of cocaine from Medellin to Miami. In 1981, Berry also began laundering the money he earned from drug trafficking. He opened several businesses as cover to hide illicit profits. His involvement with the cartels deepened even further. In 1984, things began to get complicated. The CIA, which had always trusted Berry for its missions in Nicaragua, began to suspect that something was wrong. Federal officials started investigating his activity and finally discovered that Berry was also working with the Medellin Cartel. Despite this, the CIA was reluctant to interrupt their collaboration, since Berry remained a useful asset for the United States. However, the Colombian cartels were not willing to tolerate betrayals. When Berry, fearing arrest, decided to collaborate with federal authorities to reduce his sentence, he found himself trapped in a double game, even more dangerous. Berry installed a camera in his plane, and during one of his stops in Colombia to load up on cocaine, he recorded the cartel men while they loaded the merchandise on board. Among the people filmed was Pablo Escobar. In 1986, Berry decided to tell everything to the DEA, hoping to receive a protection agreement. His testimony became one of the most important to dismantle the trafficking networks of drugs between Medellin and the United States. But Berry's betrayal did not go unnoticed. In February 1986, a few weeks after his testimony against the Colombian cartels, Berry Seal was assassinated by men linked to the Medellin Cartel. The attack occurred in Baton Rouge, his hometown, where Berry lived under protection. After having collaborated with the authorities, his death marked the end of a dramatic chapter in the history of drug trafficking. From being a civil pilot to becoming a key figure in international drug trafficking, the story of Berry Seal is an extreme example of the secret connections between governments and organized crime.